Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Infinite Potential of Being Human podcast. My name is Nicky and I'm your host. I'm so happy to have the most wonderful woman on the podcast today, being, spirit, soul, just such a gift, elder, Fiona Arrigo. I feel moved just sitting here opposite you because this is the first time that I have got to sit with you in 3D. But it has been such a deep connection that I have felt with you. And I feel like your wisdom and your capacity to listen so deeply to what's happening in consciousness right now and on the planet is so clear that it meant so much to me that you came all the way here to sit in this chair in Whitechapel with me.
Through the crazy Uber line.
So thank you. Welcome. Welcome.
Thank you so much.
How are you today? Share with us just a little of where you are and how you are.
Well, first and foremost, I feel so moved by love and nectar by this invitation to sit with you. And as you know, it's not something I do regularly. And to come and be here was to really honor you and honor the work and honor the field and to hold the presence of what is happening right now. And equally in the juxtaposition of the inside-out realms, getting here, which I told you when I arrived, was just like madness with an Uber driver that may have been on acid. I'm not sure. So I'm feeling like my nervous system needs to enter slowly. But I'm delighted to be here, sweetheart. Delighted.
Thank you so much. I was having a conversation with my teacher yesterday, just almost exactly of what you just described, the ability to be in such a deep space of stillness and where there's no one there and nothing to hold on to, and yet we still to allow ourselves to come from that place into the busyness and the storm of this life and this world. And so when you spoke about the Uber driver and the depth of presence that you come from, you just emanate all of that. So why don't we begin by just speaking about how we connected? Because it's wild to me. Like I've never met you in real life, but I honestly feel like you're one of the few human beings on this planet that I want to listen to deeply. And I feel you, and I feel you feeling me. So what was the first connection? Like, how did we end up in each other's fields? In
the history of that was our beloved Emma Cannon. And introducing us. And then a couple of years, I believe, of trying to meet and then not being able to meet in the 3D. But what I think is so beautiful about our connection is the depth that we are connected and how when something goes on in your life, I feel it in my whole being. And I'm able to reach out to you and talk to you, sometimes not verbally and sometimes verbally. And I think this is such a beautiful expression of what's going on right now in our expansion of where we're really connected and how we are in the field of telepathy and how we're in the quantum field of interconnection.
Yes.
And so you and I, in what we hold in the invisible and in the unknown, are so deeply, richly connected there.
Yes.
And this is where relationships are developing and going to and unfolding from. So to have this witnessed through all the work that you do so beautifully, and all the people that will be listening today. I think the first part of honouring this is that we have met in the invisible, and we have met in the mystery, and we love each other so deeply and honour and respect each other, and we've never, except for when I came in, hugged in the 3D.
Yes. I mean, as you say that, we have met in the invisible, but the level of trust that I feel in you and for you. I remember when I had my brain injury and I was lying in bed. I could barely talk. I could barely do anything other than just stare out the window. It was such an ultimate surrender. And I remember the moment you were one of the few people that I contacted. And we'd only ever met in a dimensional realm. And you were the one that I texted from my bed. And I felt you feel me. And when I hear you speak about this, and I'm so glad we're bringing it up, because the amount of noise that we have to clear out the way to be able to feel that depth of connection with each other in the invisible, because it's always there. But how present and awake do we need to be able to receive it and trust it and listen to it? And it's so extraordinary.
And ordinary.
And ordinary. It is.
And so ordinary. We mystify we mystify a lot, and this is our true nature. This is our true communion. But as you've said, we've become too noisy, and I think we're in a danger here. Even though there's so much beautiful, amazing awakening taking place, but to have levels of intimacy, to be able to hear the soul, to be able to hear the greater being of awareness, we do need presence and stillness and quiet, so we can feel and trust. Beautiful word that you used, that you trust me. You trust life, therefore you trust me. And I think this preciousness of trust is something that has been deeply sacrificed through the ages, and in a way colonized through the ages, and this reclaiming of trust as one of the original blueprints. How do we trust life when so much has happened? And how do we let go of story and content when we've been taught back to front and inside out to hold on to everything? And so these are conversations that take me back to us right now, of that you can trust me because you trust. And what is that trust is perhaps an opening for us to discuss.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting that you brought that up. I recently went through another massive ego death phase. And really the deepest question was realizing, do I trust life? Actually, you called me up from India, and you said there's still a kind of a hardness in my field, in my body, a holding still, even though so much has softened. And I realized after that call, do I really trust life? Are there still parts of my system that are holding on? And the levels that this can go to clear away and to heal of what's getting in the way of us being able to really trust. So can you speak more about that? Speak more about that process of what's getting in the way of that, and what's needed for us to soften into that deep trust with life.
I think I would like to say, to start with, the call for compassion. I'm going to get back to this important question. The call for tenderness and the call for a real depth of gentleness into our being. Because I come very much from the wisdom of no answers. I can't give anybody a formula, and I choose not to give a formula. I tend to stay away from answers. I pose questions. And so I think at this moment in time, when you say, you recognize another part of you that's holding, or a part of you that might have frozen, or a part of you, of course, as you teach so beautifully, this is the human story. This is the story of everything that is traced into our bodies, through our nervous systems. All the stories that we have been told are registered through our body, through our nervous systems, and through our field. And so the simplicity, which I think often we can overlook, is such deep subjects like how do we trust more? I would answer it more in the way of willingness to be able to dissolve and let go. And not so much a concretization of how I could do this or that, but a willingness to be able to let go into the nothing. And that, or let go into the everything. And that is trust. That is trust, is the willingness, as far as we can come as humans, unless we're massively advanced mystics. And that's taking us to sit in a very big quantum field. And I believe the quantum field is neutral. It's not a field of answers. It's neutral. It's awareness. It's unfolding. It's spontaneous. It's revealing. It's dancing its dance. And how do we capture that in a whisper of our human incarnation? And I think this is very much connected to yours and my stories, is a real willingness to die. A real willingness to die. And the concretization or the colonization or the old paradigms. And, I never want to come from a place from judgment. I always want to come from a place from discernment, but not judgment. So I don't want to sit here saying that was wrong and this is right, because I love that in-between space. But I think as we're growing as humans, we have to also be able to look back and see what has been done wrong and how we recirculate that energy into harmony, into love, into beauty, into coherence. So to trust, for me, is very connected to die.
Yes.
And in the frozen old age, one of the biggest things that we have been taught is to fear death. One of the biggest things that we've been taught is we cannot trust life because so many systems have been put in place that has disconnected us. And so the coming back to trust, to having no desire really for this or that or that or this, is this relationship of being willing to be empty and to die. And that, to me, takes us closer to trust.
Yes.
Because that is trust. Trusting that we don't have the answers, trusting. It's so didactic, if that's the right word. You know, that everything we've been taught has been to shape, to hold, to control a story of becoming. And yet this moment asks us to undo all those stories, to potentially coexist, co-create in the infinite field of potential that has no answer and no beginning. And yet, how do we as humans that are identified with stories and told that in order to be anything, we have to do this, that, and the other, and boom, in we come to 2025. And boom, here we come into this whole nuclear age of Pluto and Aquarius, let's just name one of them, where I want to say the mischief of expansion is happening at such a nanosecond. And I don't know how you feel, but I feel I'm living like a million years in a week. You know, it's like a million years in a nanosecond.
Yes.
It's so fast.
This year in particular.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Really, it felt like quite literally from the 1st of Jan, it's just been a massive ceremony. Like time is just sped up so fast. I can't even believe it's... You're right. It's like lifetimes is happening in a day.
Exactly. And then hence the need to find this place where we can really savor and slow down and become still enough to even find out what we can trust. Because I think there's so much activity in the outer world and you know, there's a beauty, which is where I say we need to have such compassion to where we are personally, but also where we are as a collective. In my life, I try to cut the noise out as much as possible because I think part of our reclamation is to reclaim our own minds. And then the inside out, upside down is, of course, we don't have any mind and to let that go.
Yes.
But in the beginning, it's so paradoxical.
Yes.
And in a way, life is, you know, Shakti's playing with us. You know, it's this and it's that and it's everything. And we're being spun. But also the reverence of the beauty and the coming back into this place where we can hear ourselves. I think this is very key because of all these interferences that we're clearing. So everybody that listens to you, anybody that comes to me, you know, is a servant of the now, is in service to the now. And this also requires tenderness and grace and acknowledgement, and these are like medicines. I mean, you say often so beautifully in the medicine of life, in the ceremony of life. But also the beauty is finding what our medicines are, and so one of them, which we're talking about now, is trust, and one of them that I also bring is this depth of compassion to understand that keeps opening the field into this not having to know, being able to surrender. And it's big. And for you and I, and many of us, we've had to cross huge journeys to reconnect to the beauty of awareness, to reconnect to the truth of compassion, to reconnect to the infinite intelligence, which we also call love, that is present for us. And so again, trust comes with presence. But this speed of having to know, and you know, you and I have had brief conversations about how our spirituality, how our energetic reclamation can also, if we're not in the subtle, can also be colonized. And that I think we have to be very careful here, because there are a lot of teachers, there are a lot of green juices, there are a lot of breath, there's a lot of yoga position, there's a lot of striving towards, which has its beauty and has its innocence, because we are healing and wanting to heal and wanting to upgrade. But the upgrade is happening anyway, whether we're in part or not part. We're just getting to dance in the creation of it. But I think it's to seek a stillness and to seek a silence, so you can hear. And then, of course, there's the path of devotion and dedication and all these other pathways. But I think what I wanted to talk to you about was this path of your journey when you had this very, very life-shaking, life transformation, being turned inside out and everything going and dying. And maybe we can just talk about that, because, you know, I've had 3 major accidents. And, you know, there's a lot of judgment in our worlds, especially if we're on a path. And, you know, in the sweetness of it all, we're divine fuck-ups. And we're also beautiful. We're so beautiful. But we tend to judge. So for me, all my accidents have been openings into the divine.
Yes.
Openings into the great mother of love. Opening into my deeper service. And of course, in my matrix of inherited family, I've had to break. I've had to break arrogance. I've had to break... that's the only one I can think of right now, but there's a list.
Yes.
To become so humble, to let life itself move me and shape me and dance with me. And so every accident has been an opening, has been a sutra. It's been a massive opening into the invisible. And yet all the projections of you're supposed to be this and you're supposed to be that, and why you're still having accidents, and what's going on in your right side, and what's this, and all this, these translations that at some point just don't work, because we're concretizing our reality into a story of something. And as we both love Ram Dass, you know, one of his great sentences is, eventually all paths need to disappear. Everything needs to, every story, every spiritual practice, everything we've ever done in the great ultimate, whether I get there in this lifetime, I'm not sure, but I am willing to let go of the stories and not judge and caption because, excuse me, you had a brain injury. The beauty of that and where it took you and what it allowed you to have.
Yes.
But then what were the judgments? And
I mean, I didn't get an awful lot of judgments, not particularly for that, but it was extremely humbling. And I, having come out the other side of it, and the amount of growth that came for me and healing that came for me, I realized I needed that kind of accident to be humbled that much. You know, it was the absolute ultimate surrender. I within moments, I was completely pulled out of my life. I couldn't leave the bed. I couldn't function other than just sit and be. But even more so, the identity of Nicky just completely dropped out of my head and my nervous system. I couldn't find me anywhere.
beautiful.
But what was so extraordinary is my teacher helped me to distinguish this when I was in it. Even though I couldn't find me, I was still able to see that I couldn't find me. So there was somewhere that from where I was seeing where me had dissolved. And it took me closer. I'm going to use the word God, but I don't mean religion. It took me closer to God than I have ever gotten. And it was so humbling in a way that I needed. We were genuinely thinking about that we would have to liquidize the business, we would have to sell the home, and it made me confront who I had been being. I had created an entire world where everyone relied on me. And it was about 3 or 4 days in to the accident, and I was sitting in bed and I was relieved that it had happened. And I was shocked by my relief that I had built a life that I was relieved to have been yanked out of. And I had to face the responsibility, my responsibility of the world that me had created. The little girl that needed to be safe and in control, that didn't have to rely on anyone. I had literally created an entire world. And that level of surrender it softened me and opened my heart in ways that I just feel so lucky. And there was something that you said when we were preparing for this. It wasn't just what happened to me. It was my relationship to what happened that gave me the gift of what I got. Not for a moment did I think that, maybe for one moment. I remember I was crying on my osteopath's table and she said, "Don't be a victim, take on your spiritual assignment."
Beautiful.
And I was like, oh, okay. And I heard her and I took it on and I realized there was so many gifts in this. And there was a huge amount of learning. And that was the gift that helped me navigate through it. And I came out the other side and people would ask me, "How are you? Are you recovered?" And I'm like, I feel... Physically, I'm 80%. Spiritually, I feel 150%. Like it came out in a completely new place. So I think you spoke of arrogance. Arrogance is, I think, one of the biggest things that I have had to continually come up against and really humbly heal. The more power I get, the more people that listen, the more money that comes in, the more beauty and goodness that comes. It's always like, how much more can I come back to humility?
Yeah.
Without diminishing, not making myself small, but humble. I don't know. I don't know. It just is. I mean, as I'm sitting opposite you now, like I have so many moments in my work where I feel like I've learned a thing or two, and then I sit opposite you and I feel like I'm a novice and I'm a baby and I just want to absorb everything that you've learned. And I think I just want to add on here that, you know, for people like me, and I'll speak for myself, to be able to find the elders that really have heard the medicine. Not just heard it, not as information, but have absorbed it, is living it, is being it. It feels rare on the planet today. So it's such a gift, not just to hear the words that are coming out of your mouth, but where you're speaking from. And everything that's emanating from you, because you've lived what you're speaking. So yeah, now it makes so much sense why I called you in the middle of that brain injury. I don't think I'd ever called you before, maybe. Yeah, I just texted and I said, "Are you awake?"
Yeah.
And you were like, "Yes." And that was it.
Yeah, and Nicky, you know, I think this, this willingness again to be tender and humble, and that you yourself are in such a big place in your life right now for this cycle, where the world is definitely showing up and listening, and you're teaching, and your life is creative and also joyful and light, and all the thresholds that you've had to cross to keep in your authenticity, to keep to what you know in this moment as being true. Domestic change, country change, relationship change, business change, absolute beautiful new body change, all these changes which are happening, and yet the always to come back to what you're talking about, which is we don't know when to stay humble. And to know that, the gifts and the expressions and what we're able to offer life as a prayer into the collective for this time. I really do believe that for many of us, this passageway right now is service. It's not sacrifice, it's service to the re-knitting, to the re-threading, to the upgrades that we are going through in part as a humanity. But to keep our eye and our heart on this energetic of humility is, I think, a wonderful medicine for everybody to keep coming back to. And it's a dance of how do you sit in the infinite field of bliss, and the infinite field where you are talking to so many people who are healing and making breakthroughs, and discarding that as well, discarding that identification, discarding that attachment. And you write so clearly, and you wrote something very beautiful the other day on Instagram, and I don't follow many, and I always read yours. And you said something about what would it be like to be free enough to let life course through you in every moment. I don't know if that's exact.
It was an actual question that my osteopath asked me, who's a very powerful healer. She said, Nicky, if you could feel everything, if you felt every movement of life that moved through you, every emotion, every bit of energy, everything, would it be painful? And it was such a powerful question, because I realized it was only my mind that thought it would be painful. But when I really listened, I thought, wow, that would be just beautiful, just pure life. And how much the mind gets in the way of allowing life to flow, really, because how are we separate from life, really? Is it this stuff that separates us from life, or are we life?
And do you have an answer?
I think yes. Yeah. That has been my experience. And the more that we can have a more free and non-attached relationship with the mind, the more aliveness we get to be with and experience.
Yeah. And alchemicalize.
Yes.
Alchemicalize the story, which keeps taking us back time and time again to this beautiful point of neutrality, which is non-identification and non-attachment. But here's the brilliance of the design, to be able to fully engage fully experience and not attach. And so then we become flow. Then we become the experience, experiencing the experience without having to compress or solidify. And I think this is art. This is the biology of our sacred architecture. You know, what we can be, and what it's not what only what we can be, it's what we are becoming as we become new humans. Whatever this means, you know, it's a word that's zapped around right now. But as we become new humans, as we move from that beautiful expression of, I think it's the Aztecs who talk about our Homo luminos instead of our Homo sapien nature, and that how we become more light and more in service and more in flow and more in coherence and more empty, coming back again to the contraction and the need as humans with compassion to identify with everything and therefore concretize it into something, even though it could be the most amazing construct, but it's still concretization. And so this elegance of luminosity, where we are being invited to become these Homo luminos, this next aspect of the human being. And what this is taking, which brings me back again to these simple practices, we have to be able to stop. We have to be able to be silent. We have to be able to be still. We have to be able to dissolve, catch our breath enough, and really perhaps ask, what story are we listening to? Whose story are we listening to? Really love to make this invitation to our sacredness, that really an examination of who and what are we listening to. Because it has to go, and yet we have to find for it to go.
Yes, that's so smart. What you just said is so good.
I need lots of water, excuse me.
Please drink
My
more.
hydration of life is key at my elderly years.
We have to find for it to go. Yes, what I hear in that is we can't dissolve anything that we can't see first. So first we have to see.
Exactly.
Which is so confronting, to see what we didn't even know we couldn't see.
Yeah.
And only then can we then dissolve. I keep hearing when I'm listening to you, it's everybody's trying to be somebody, but really it's discovering that we're nobody.
Beautiful. Beautiful. And this is coming, but it's also, I think this is where I come back to the tenderness and the compassion, because we need to take gentle sips of water here, because there is so much that, you know, all your community, all the people you work with, all the people I work with, all the people that were working around the planet in this wanting to do it differently. And yet, as you've said, we have to be able to understand what has happened. And I'm a great believer in this, you know, in my retreats of, I would say, philosophical inquiry. You know, who are we, what have we been, and what are we becoming? Are the leaders always? Because we haven't been educated enough. This is also a massive colonization where we have been ruptured from our relationship to land, heart, people, intuition, wisdom. And I believe in our evolutionary step. You know, we are stepping out of I and moving into we. And we are learning to care. You know, it's intrinsic. It's written somewhere in our DNA to love, to care. to caretake, but all that has to be restreamed, because it's been expressed through its lower nature. And so it's this understanding of how we're expressing our lower natures through the hallway of ignorance, through not being given time, which is where the Great Mother comes in, which is why I'm saying stop, wait, listen, give yourself time. There's no rush. We're all going to get there. As you wake up, you're waking all of us up. As I wake up, I'm waking all of us up. There's time. This comes from trust again. And yet there is a speeding up. So there's time within the timeless of no time. And we need,
So good.
and we need to chew on that for another century or two.
Yeah.
And I think this chewing of these, this is really the path of the medicine woman. She understands, she cultivates, she takes information, she chews it up, and then she brings it back into the world. We haven't been given time to contemplate. I feel such depth here. We haven't been given time to pause. We haven't been given time to process all the junk, let's call it DNA, but the old paradigm. And so all this is processing through our meridians, through our nadis, through our chakras, through our field, which is every single person that makes a stand to understand compassion. It's such a blessing for our earth. It's such a blessing for our time. And yet the injunction here is, I'm not good enough, self-worth. I don't deserve self-worth. I've got it wrong, self-worth. Everybody's doing it better, self-worth. I don't exist, self-worth. And all the Great Mother wants is to welcome everybody back home. In all our disarrays. But this path of distillation, this path of dissolution in our reclamation is part of the great acceptance. To sit softly somewhere with ourselves. It's not mind. I don't even know if we can reach this in our mind. I don't even know if we can find self-worth there. I think we have to enter into a different quantum, a different field, into, in my language, the infinite seed of the infinite field of compassion. Somebody said to me the other day, a great wise elder, I must introduce you to him, a great, great wise elder. And he said very simply, everybody's searching for the mother. But that's not like a transference onto mother wound. This is like this first breath of really acceptance, understanding, allowance, and then dissolving, and then sinking into the milk of her trust. And these are states of beingness. These aren't mental constructs. And I don't know, I'm sure you'll capture this more, because that gap between construct story of having to be something, having to be healed, having to be fixed, having to put it right.
But who is that one that keeps needing that?
Yeah.
And that's, of course, the dilemma, the paradox.
Exactly.
Which is predominantly a blind spot.
Yeah.
We're so busy looking at what we have to do next, but who's the one looking through your eyes, wanting that so much, needing that constantly, trying to solve all the time? Yes, that's the paradox.
The paradox and the great sea of separation. The great sea of separation that in whatever this great confused design is of where we split from awareness spirit into matter and becoming, and the return journey that many of us are on right now. And so when you say that we have to understand, in order, let's say, not your words, but to liberate consciousness, I think we really do need to be able to look back over time, not just in our personal story,
Yes.
but in the great story that was, and in all the ways that greed took over, divide and conquer happened, men became the allies and women got dethroned, and all these different systems that people are working on in this multi-paradoxical place called Earth. This is also interesting, that we live in this multi-paradoxical place called Earth, with many different timelines and many different streams of consciousness and many different awarenesses. It's like Trafalgar Square on something at sort of rush hour, It's like, and how do we find our way through this?
You just said timelines. I really want to ask you, are you noticing that Nick and I have been experiencing jumping timelines?
Yes. Well, you too. I mean, yes.
But it's wild. It's like 1 minute we're on a timeline that isn't of this timeline, and it's like jumping, boom, boom.
Yes.
So I wanted to ask you, is that happening? Is that just us, or is that happening?
Well, then I could get really smart and say, who is us?
Yes,
but we
you
won't
can.
do that. We won't do that. I mean, I think all of this is available.
Yes.
And I think most definitely, I talk a lot to my community about actually becoming more coherent in the timelines that we are experiencing. Because I do believe that we are in this multiverse here on Earth, and perhaps we have to get coherent in the timelines that we're playing in. When you free consciousness at the level that you're experiencing the field, and with Nick, who, by the way, Nick, if you're listening to this, I'm super gutted that I'm not meeting you tonight, and you're inside a whale. But when you're and this fusion of when we come into consciousness, it is like what you've said. It's like being on a constant medicine journey, where everything's breaking down and coming back together in a nanosecond. And you could be positioned absolutely in reality, sitting in Sirius, or sitting in the middle of the Great Dissolve, or sitting in the density of here, or in the electromagnetic field of infinite possibility. You can be all of those places all at once, because it's consciousness and awareness just playing and witnessing itself. But the question is, how do we not lose our minds? And how do we stay centered? And how do we stay present with all that's going on? And I think that's interesting.
Yes. Isn't it okay to lose your mind?
It depends which mind you're losing.
That's true. Or it depends what relationship you have with what you're losing.
Yeah, we want to lose our minds, but we don't want to become unanchored.
Yes, 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 I hear that. There needs to be an anchor point. My teacher said to me once, everything, nothing is the anchor point. That was it. I said, Nick is my anchor point. He said, no. Everything, nothing is the anchor point.
He's beautiful, your teacher. He's beautiful.
Yeah.
Everything, nothing is your anchor point. There was something that came to me before that.
Losing your mind.
No, it's lost. It will come again. I think this is it. It's like choosing also, like being prepared to let go of it all, but also choosing the path, which isn't there, the pathless path.
Yes.
But there are walkways to the altar of dissolution, and the walkways could be devotion, can be reverence, can be love, can be willingness, can be many of these words, humility. We need these anchor points to take us to the great dissolve. If we have no anchor in our, which is the point of practice,
It brings us back to trust in life.
which brings us back to trust in life, and that it's okay to die.
Yes.
And it's okay to dissolve.
Yes.
And it's okay to meet your unlimited self, to know that paradoxically we are limited, and to become something else. This is what I think is so extraordinary about now, that we can even have these conversations, but also of how much is being offered to be able to experience in the now of nothing.
I want to come back to compassion. When you were speaking, you've kind of circled back to it many times. And you spoke about separation, and I want to presence and come back to compassion because it feels like the absolute deepest and most important medicine that's needed on the planet. But the layers that need to dissolve in order to truly experience compassion, to be able to experience that what I am experiencing it feels personal, but it's not personal to me. It's part of human being. It's part of humanity. It's what you are struggling with or what you are fighting against is also in me. But it takes so much responsibility, self-responsibility, to be able to inquire in that way without judgment, with our own selves, in order to be able to experience deeper and deeper and deeper levels of compassion. It feels like a mountain to climb when I look at where the planet is with that.
Yes, and that, again, is the tenderness of compassion to understand the mountain that we're climbing and to keep steadfast, to keep in presence and trust of understanding the great unfoldment. And I think because of this interference and this superimposition of religion onto all the natural worlds, all the great indigenous people, all our beautiful plant worlds and sacred worlds, and the natural children, and all this has been interfered with, and this is a sin. This is Witiko, this is the virus, which has to be understood. You know, it can't all be love and light, and because they're you know, in the reality of where we are positioned right now, Witiko reigns. The virus is here. The unexamined unconscious is here, and it's programming us. It has programmed us. We are part of that system. And we are coming out and through that system as we refine our energies, and this subtlety of refinement, cleaning our mirrors, cleaning our energy fields, turning up, being kind, taking care. But for me, compassion is one of its arms, one of its limbs, is to understand the reality very clearly.
Yes.
To be able to see the nature of reality in this for what it is.
Yes.
And to be able to look at it, to be able to look full power into the dragon's eyes and taste her fire, to be able to understand where we've come from and what has happened. And then when we're looking at things in, I don't, but the news or whatever it is, it doesn't matter. The distillation, the discernment of compassion is the blade to cut through what is true and what is untrue. And the great teachers, if you want to say the elders, the medicine carriers, the ones that sit often silently, unseen, unheard, but just in the field of understanding as it's showing up and dissolving the field, because we are no longer working personally. And this is a big jump as well, is that because we've personalized the story, we're healing everything often on a personal level. We've run out of that timeline. We have to understand that we're working in a massive collective healing, unfolding, putting many things right by our seeing, by our knowing, by our understanding. To me, this is part of the limb of compassion.
Yes.
To see, to know, to understand, and to cut through. But this is through, we have, my path, actually, my meditation is to study. I'm I consume and dance in the energetics of the Hall of Learning. And so my way of transmutation, my way of contributing to the field is to understand its nature and to make very clear choice on what I am agreeing to and what I'm not agreeing to. And I think this is a very powerful medicine as well for right now. What are we agreeing for almost through the nanosecond? Because the conditioning process of everything that we've been disconnected from is so powerful.
Yes.
And everything that is running us is so powerful. So compassion is the capacity to laser light through it and to really look, because the blind spots is from the beginning the educational system.
Yes.
The religious system, any system is a blind spot in humanity.
Yes.
Because it's conceptualized, concretized, man-made beliefs that we've bought into, and we've never been given the gentleness, I keep wanting to say, to find our own minds, to inquire, is this true, is this not true? Is this right for me? Isn't it right for me? Because from the beginning, in the old dimension, we're born under scarcity consciousness. We're born under, you do this in order to get here, you will then be rewarded. And it, excuse my French, it fucks your head.
Absolutely, it does.
Fucks your head. And all that has to be unwound.
Yes.
Everything that we've been told is life, is simply not life.
Yes.
And it's been going on. And what we do, another big part of, the beauty of what you hold, it's humility and our humanity. We can't spiritually bypass into the great Om and not see Gaza, not see Syria, not see what's happening because of the shadow, because of the virus. So we need to be brave. In one way we talk about the great dissolve, which is underpinning and taking us back to everything. But within the great dissolve, as activists for the now, we have to be able to look very, very clearly into what has not been right.
Yes.
And what we are giving our energy to. And this is the time, for sure, of coherence. And we can't afford, excuse me again, to fuck up here. Our choices matter. Where we put our energy matters. Who we are matters. What we say matters. What we agree to matters. Because unless we play a part in this, this is our co-creation of rewriting the narrative that is already written and dissolved and not even there. But in our human condition, it is our time in our evolution to come out of blind spots, to wake up, to see, and to take responsibility.
We would say it's the maturation of our species.
Yeah, beautiful. Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely.
I just want to clarify for everybody listening, Fiona, you used the word wetiko. How would you pronounce it? Wetiko. And you also used the word virus, and I wanted to just presence with everybody listening what that means. It's well, where I learnt about it was in Paul Levy's book, The Quantum Revelation.
Yeah.
And he speaks about wetiko as a mind virus. And the mind virus that we inherit it from generations and generations, the virus of this blind spot that the external is separate from the internal, that our 3D world is already out there separate from our internal, from the perception of the observer, and it is in fact an illusion, and it's a blind spot, and we're born inheriting this mind virus, and it just goes on and on and on through generations. And so that's it. Did I get that right?
Totally. It's, he also refers to it. It came from, I think, the Native American culture.
Yes, that was its originality.
But it also very Jungian, and where he talks about the parasitic mind. And this is real. This is where waking up can't be colonized. It can't be all beauty, light, and green juice. And we have to get down and dirty to dissolve the story of what has been controlling us.
Yes.
And this is a huge, we could be giving masterclasses on this.
I just want to check the time because we could go on forever, but let's keep going.
Okay. The undoing of this and the identifying of this.
Yes, and you cannot identify this without really coming face to face experientially and in relationship with both. The word that comes to me is how mechanical and brutal and life-sucking and suffocating it is, and it has been to human life, while simultaneously the consequences that it has had, not just on our individual life, on life itself.
Exactly.
We have to be able to see it all and face it all. That was actually what triggered this recent big ego death for me. Mm-hmm. Every time I lead one of my programs, I go through another big, I suppose, dissolving. Mm. And I came out of leading my last program, and I became so present in a way that I'd never before at the machine-like nature of what we're trapped in, the mechanical nature of what we're trapped in, and how brutal and cold and lifeless it really felt. Wow. And I looked at my children and I saw these extraordinary beings trapped in this machine-like mind, and being able to be present with it without running away, letting myself experience it and be with it, whilst knowing that I'm also everything, nothing. Wow, it was a big dissolving for me. It was very painful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, Nicky, and so interrelationship. That's not the word I'm looking for. It's this is power. which I think is going to be one of our next conversations,
Yes.
is again this capacity to look in and see and not flinch, and to see what has taken life, but to be able to look in and see. And I really believe this comes through feminine consciousness.
Yes.
I really, really believe it comes through embodiment. And, you know, I love and often talk about the two Marys standing at the foot of the cross while they watched Jesus die in this crucifixion. And the energy that it took for the mother to stay and watch, and many mothers, and just, you know, many mothers that watch and stay. But this resilience of being able to look into the face of evil, separation, this cold. I've seen this in my meditations many years back, what you're describing. And I used to wonder why on earth I was being taken into those dimensions, which was so frozen and almost like E.T. controlled isms.
Yes.
And what was I doing looking there? A bit like, you know, wandering through a matrix. And what was I doing there? And I have no answer, actually. I don't know what I was doing there. But I think it is very much part of what you're talking about in seeing, is to really look into life in that paradigm. And the consequences, and what happens when we stay, what happens when we're still in the witness. I think what I want to say here is we don't turn away. This takes courage, which is another great companion to compassion.
Yes.
It takes courage to build these muscles, to be able to stay in the uncomfortable, and to let the dissolution of all that memory matrix pass through. And you talk about frozen states of consciousness, for them to pass through. And this is the witnessing, I believe, for this time. This is part of the work of this time. And for that, it comes back again to the need to be quiet, the need to be still, and to bring ourselves out of the noise, because otherwise, whose story are we listening to? Whose patterns are we following? You know, to be able to be still enough to listen.
Yes. I love you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Where can people find you? Just so you know, when people come to me and they are looking for someone that I could recommend that they work with, you're always the person I recommend.
Oh, bless you. Bless you. Thank you.
Yes. So everyone listening, Fiona is the real deal. I think you've already gotten that from listening to her. Where can everyone find you? Please share with us what you're offering and where everyone listening can find you.
Okay, so we have many arms to the work that we offer. One of them are one-to-one sessions with me. The other is I have this beautiful community which has been running for the last 3 to 4 years, that's online once a month, which is New Codes of Living, which I absolutely love. And it's radical and it's meaty, and we discuss who we are as women on the planet right now and what are we doing. We look at very broad concepts, constructs of things that you and I have been discussing. What does it mean to be human in this time? And we're on a break right now, and I think that begins in September.
You also have the Arrigo program.
Yeah, I have the Arrigo program, and I also have retreats.
Mm.
The Arrigo program is really a very deep dive. I would say it's like dry medicine. It's being on a dry medicine journey.
Mm.
And through my years, I've been practicing, living for 40 odd years doing this work, and add on many zeros. But the Arrigo program in Somerset is a very beautiful program where you come to really clear and clean your energy. So you can turn up with an issue, of course, but we're letting the body talk, we're letting the central nervous system curate, and we're cleaning the energetic frequencies. And people come to us and stay for 4 days, 5 days, 10 days, 15 days, and go through this process where I curate and design treatments, which could be up to 4 a day.
Wow.
And you're doing a combination of breath work, spirit point acupuncture, TRE, but it's the way that it's curated and intended, and it's absolutely beautiful for people that dare to come and sit alone, take time out, go in and clear the body, clear the frozenness, clear that energetic holding out and through. So that's the Arrigo program that's been running, I don't know for how long, 30 odd years, I guess.
Wow.
It hasn't changed. I always think you get the right recipe and leave it. So it's continuing just to do what it's always done. But of course, in terms of what life is holding right now, it deepens and it deepens and it deepens and it deepens. And we have to find ways to get it out of our bodies. We have to find ways. It's beautiful to work in all these realms, but we need to get it out of our bodies. We need to clear our bodies. We need to clean our bodies.
Embodiment.
And then I also run retreats. At the moment, they're master retreats, which are with me and some of my practitioners.
I really want to come on one of
I
your
will
retreats.
really want you to come. So those are in India and in Spain, and also by invitation if people say come here, come there. But the ones that I hold are in India and in Spain. And that's a very, very deep dive into these questions. Who are we? What are we doing? And what are we how are we going to serve? Always, 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 always. And then working the body through movement, through dance, through breath, lots of the practices that you offer. And I'm beginning, which I'm really excited about, to find ways to give a really big give back to the world. It's percolating, it's sort of one step forward, a little step sideways, one step forward. But in my dedication, my devotion, I feel that for so many, we are depleted, we are exhausted, and I have a nurture, a wanting to offer something back to women particularly, the women that could never take a holiday, the women that could never take a break, the women that are serving their families, the women that are exhausted. It's not a healing of trauma. It's not a healing of mental health. It's a healing of rest and nurture. And I think a great quality is restoring dignity, because we don't, it's this, we can go off into all these beautiful places, and what are we doing about the people that can't? What are we doing about the invisible? What are we doing about the voiceless? What are we doing? So I'm realistic. We can't, if I could, it would be like this, but it's not. But I'm really wanting to start this program, which is about rest, restore, and give back to people that haven't got that opportunity. So I don't understand in this imbalance of our earth, which is what we're all healing, of how we can be eating when somebody's starving, when some child is having their limbs blown off and we're walking out and buying a new shirt. It's not that one's wrong. It's just what we've been talking about earlier, is how do we bring the consciousness and the awareness into the we, so ultimately all beings can prosper. May all beings be happy. And these are in the greater texts. These are in the wisdoms of the Kali Chakra. These are in the wisdoms of the New Age. These aren't naive dreams. These are written everywhere in the sutras of the memory bank. Compassion understands that it will take time. Compassion says, and what can I offer? What can I do? And how can I co-create something as an offering to the great web, to the great altar of life? So I hope in some way, with my exhausted team, to give back this place of rest and this place of nurturance as an offering to the women that can't. Because how can we move forward if we're leaving women behind that are traumatized?
Yeah.
How can we? How can we? So I'm trying to find a way through this.
I just feel like I want to say, if there's any way that I can help, please.
That's my next conversation.
Let me know.
Thank you. I would love. Because I really think this is so important. And yet not getting exhausted ourselves by the devastation of the world.
Yes.
But just to have a response like you have from your heart is, I want to do something. Every day we want to do something is a reclamation.
Yes.
Every day we say, I'm not just going to ignore this, is a reclamation. And this is the power of the Great Mother. This is the power of compassion. And this is the power of woman in this time, that we have the capacity, without overwhelm, to heal in the world. We do. We do.
Oh, I can breathe that in so deeply. Thank you so much. Thank you for your wisdom and for all that you have devoted. So grateful for you. Thank you. This is going to be such a gift for everyone listening, and I invite everybody who's listening to listen with your whole body and your whole being, and let it really in. Let yourself feel this conversation. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, my darling. Thank you.